Ignition sequence start.
Good morning. You're getting a view of the International Space Station Flight Control Room, where a team of specialists is always on duty, keeping an eye on station systems and assisting the expedition crew members through their daily tasks of science support and station maintenance. This week, that included working with Commander Chris Cassidy and flight engineers Anatoly Ivanishin and Ivan Wagner on the arrival of a new cargo ship, preparations to greet a new set of crewmates next week, and their own departure from the station and the end of Expedition 63 before the end of the month.
Houston Station on Space to Ground.
Welcome to Space to Ground. I'm Kayla France. This week, the orbiting laboratory welcomes a new visitor with lots of new supplies.
Lift off of carries.
On Saturday, the Northrop Grumman CRS-14 Cygnus spacecraft successfully launched from NASA's Wallops Flight Facility in Virginia. Carrying nearly 8,000 pounds of hardware and supplies, this mission marks the 14th flight of Cygnus as a commercial cargo provider to the International Space Station. After a journey of 56 hours, Cygnus reached the orbiting laboratory, and NASA astronaut Chris Cassidy used the station's Canadarm2 to reach out and grab the vehicle, allowing ground teams to maneuver and berth the spacecraft at Unity's nadir port. The cargo craft, named the SS Kalpana Chawla in honor of the first woman of Indian descent to go to space, will stay attached to the space station until mid-December. Meanwhile, at Baikonur, final preparations are underway for the next flight to the space station. NASA astronaut Kate Rubins and her Russian crewmates are concluding their pre-launch activities before launching from the Cosmodrome for a 6-month mission aboard the orbiting lab. This flight, scheduled for liftoff on Wednesday, will be quick. The time from launch to docking will be just over 3 hours, about the same time it takes for a commercial airliner to fly from Seattle to Minneapolis. Be sure to tune in to NASA TV and the agency's website on October 14th and follow the flight.
Space to Ground.
Also, we invite you to check out the latest edition of Houston, We Have a Podcast. Before her upcoming mission, astronaut and microbiologist Kate Rubins sat down with R. Gary Jordan to talk about a wide array of subjects, including being the first person to sequence DNA in space. Keep sending in your questions using the hashtag AskNASA. We'll see you next time.
All of the expedition crew members on the International Space Station spend some of their time working on science experiments that take advantage of the absence of gravity, such as when Expedition 63's Doug Hurley squeezed a bag of fruit punch. The fluid that squirted out of the bag wound down a clear tube and soaked into a block of white foam, all of which provided researchers with better information about how to manage liquids in microgravity.
Mark, station on 3. Howdy here. This is Doug. Doug, I got you 5 by 5.
We started maybe 15 years ago in this long line of experiments that have been going to space that are all small-scale fluids experiments that have really taught us a lot about managing fluids in space without any moving parts, without any electricity, just fluidics. Now we can apply research results that we've learned from doing experiments in space to actual space systems that actually require gravity to be gone for them to work. That's different. That's a new horizon, I would say.
Okay, Mark, ready on step 4.
This is an engineering demonstration of a wastewater purification system. So inside that foam, there are all these weird channels and different wetting foams in there, such that capillary forces wick the liquids out, opening the channels up. So it's a capillary solution to an engineering problem of managing brine and contaminated water streams.
Yeah, it sounds really, really interesting and frankly really cool. I can't wait to see what it does.
What you're going to do is you're going to open that little valve out of the drink bag, and you're going to prime the tube. Then you're going to squeeze that bag, the drink bag, and then kind of in about 15 seconds fill the entire foam with the contents of the bag.
The interior piece of that foam is highly wetting, so it wants to suck up that water. But then there are pieces on the outside that are hydrophobic, so it doesn't want the water to penetrate through. So how can we, mix that up? What are the issues? What does that look like? Because ultimately this piece of technology, even though it's so simple as a piece of foam, it can potentially do so many things.
If you watch the videos, you see it, you're going to think it's dull and what are these goofs doing? You're going to say that. But basically what it is it's a dyed liquid. It's actually red fruit punch that we use, which is a simulant for urine.
You like the backlight view?
Yeah, we're geeking out over that. It gives us the complete view. This whole thing is nice.
That's pretty cool.
So the purpose of this experiment is to see how well does the foam hold the liquid in microgravity, and if we completely agitate it and really put this piece of equipment through the ringer, how well does it bounce back? Honestly, the most surprising thing that's come out of it is how simple we can make this technology. Maybe the foam project is going to enable a backup system for the toilets, or maybe it's going to be a new wastewater processing system altogether, and that's just the future. It's just, it feels like anything is really possible.
We are very hopeful that our work, which started out in fundamental research and is turned more and more applied, could actually get to the point where it's delivering on equipment that functions without moving parts, or a minimum of moving parts, without power, without noise. We'd love it to have a system that just works passively by its shape. And whether it's on the moon or in orbit around the moon or in way to Mars, we'd love to contribute in that way, and in the way that makes others able to do that too. So by publishing the design laws, by the design experience, by the experiment experience, we'd love to do that too.
I think it's just cool. It's so simple and it's so cool.
The scientists who imagine and develop the experiments done on the International Space Station devote years to their research, and then the station crew members execute the protocols. What happens then when the results are returned to Earth? In this final segment of the new NASA Explorers series, watch the scientists take their research across the finish line.
So this is Emil. He is almost 8 months old now, and he was present for a lot of the testing that we did. He was also present for the launch in utero. And so over the course of our first ISS project, we made an entire new human along with all the other testing that we did. This flight suit that he's wearing was from his Auntie Power Stew that we got when we were down at Cape Canaveral for the launch in December. And that's my favorite face he makes right now. Since he doesn't have any top teeth. So we were running concurrent experiments on Earth and on station. So Nanoracks had gels at their facility, and they were getting the data from the experiments running on station. And so we were looking at how the gels formed, their structure, and also how the drug release profile was changing given those two different environments.
Nanoracks brought the plates back to us, and we all made sure that we are here, and we opened the plates all together, and we had the same type of excitement that we had at Kennedy Space Center.
It was already exciting because space never loses its cool, and so we had these places where, oh my god, these are what the astronauts touched. And so we opened them, and they've been to space and back, and now they're in our lab.
We could just at least look at them and see like how the integrity is different, if the structural changes are something that we can observe just by looking at the gel.
And when we looked at the data that we got from the equipment on station and the equipment from nanoracks, we could see that there are differences in the drug release profiles from those gels that were happening at the same time.
We actually observed some interesting changes that we hope that we will be able to prove doing actual structural tests and more in-depth studies. But just by observation, it seemed like there might be some changes.
While the thrill of the rocket launch may be over, Elaine and Paris-Stu still have one of the most exciting parts of their journey ahead, publishing their results. This information could help inform future research on Earth and in space.
What we're working on now is compiling on that data and telling a good story around it so that it's something that we can, of course, publish and give back to the public. So we got some really interesting data from these experiments that were, again, super simple, but the story it might tell us could really inform material science as a whole.
You definitely feel a huge responsibility performing this research for others because you know how many years they've been working on the ground, and we often like to know the results. So personally, I stayed in touch with a lot of the scientists, and that gives us a lot of good feedback, and it gives us some closure too to know how important the science that we were doing up there really was.
I think Rachel has something for you guys.
Is it for real?
Oh my gosh!
Hi, Serena! Oh my God! How are you doing?
When they told me they were doing this, they said, "Hey, we'd like to try and set up at least a FaceTime call or something." And I was like, "Yeah, absolutely. This is great."
Oh, this is a fantastic surprise.
Where are you guys located?
So we're in our laboratory in Richmond, Virginia. So our other full-time employees are also women. So we're an entirely women-run company.
Fantastic.
It just turned out that way, but it's been wonderful because we're all women engineers.
Oh, hello.
Here's our
Oh, this is great. This is
I'll
great.
show you the plate that you handled in space.
We still have it. We still have our samples.
Oh, that's so cool. Man. See, it's even neat when we get to see the science back down in your hands, too. So sometimes it does go literally in a black box when we're up there, and we hope everything gets down safely. So, but thanks for letting me invade your space a little bit today, and good luck with everything you guys do scientifically, personally, professionally in the future.
All right. Thank you so much, Serena.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right.
It's good talking with you.
Yeah, very nice to meet you.
And happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween.
Yeah, it's hard to read this.
Oh, I'm trying to think of anything that would be better than watching my own launch of research to the space station.
I actually have, like, my background of my cell phone is actually like the picture of us sending the product to the space station. Definitely a lot of people are surprised that young females in STEM have, this type of experiences and have contributed this much. I still look at the sky and I really think everything is so far away, and look at the stars and everything looks like nothing is achievable, but then just being a part of this whole experience, it just is a dream come true.
Elaine and Paris-Stu now join the thousands of scientists who've performed research aboard the International Space Station, making the most of what microgravity has to teach us. This dedicated group is bringing what they learn back to Earth, helping improve lives and advance exploration.
What Space Station gives us is a different sort of laboratory, and what's really meaningful to me is to be able to come back down and talk with my patients and let them know about some of the discoveries we made. This means a lot to me as a clinician, and so it was really neat to be able to perform that sort of science on station.
The energy that everyone has who's involved in space research is extremely contagious. And so you just get hyped up about it because everyone else is so excited about it. Yes, the timelines are long, but everyone is so positive and certain that they're doing a good thing and that the money is well spent. And that is what drives people to keep doing this sort of research.
Microgravity still has more insights to reveal, and this laboratory, like no other, will continue to uncover them, one experiment at a time.
When you look up at the night sky, you notice that the moon appears to change shape from night to night. These different shapes that we see at different times of the month are known as the moon's phases. In this new episode of STEMonstrations, NASA astronaut Anne McClain and a friend with an Earth-shaped head explain why the phases of the moon occur as they do.
Hi there. My name is Anne McClain, and I'm an astronaut who has lived and worked 250 miles above the Earth's surface on the International Space Station. Today we're going to be turning our eyes toward the moon and learning more about what causes the moon phases. But before we check out the moon phases, let's take a look at where the space station is compared to where we are on Earth and where the moon and the sun are. On Earth, you're only about 250 miles below the station. The moon, however, is located 238,855 miles on average from Earth. You could fit 30 Earths in that distance. When you think about how far away we are from you on the station versus how far away the moon is, the station is only a tiny bit closer to the moon than we are here on Earth. And that's only when the station is in orbit on the same side of Earth as the moon. So, the station is 250 miles away, the moon is 238,855 miles away, and the sun is approximately 92,900,000 miles away. That is quite the distance. Now that you know where you are relative to the station, moon, and the sun, let's talk about the moon phases. Now, when you're looking up at the moon from the Earth, you'll notice that it looks different from day to day. We call these differences the phases of the moon, and they cycle through every 30 days. Let's check out a demonstration of the moon phases here on the ground. We're going to pretend his head is Earth, letting him view the moon as you would from your home. The ball in their hand is going to represent the moon, and the light source is going to be our sun. Keep in mind that while the moon is orbiting Earth, Earth is also rotating on its axis and slowly orbiting the sun. Now, looking from our outsider perspective, we can see the moon is still whole the entire time it is orbiting around Earth, with the side facing the sun always illuminated and reflecting sunlight. Let's take a look at what he is seeing. As you can see in the photographs from Earth's view, the reflection of sunlight looks quite different from this angle, since we are only able to see parts of the reflected sunlight as the moon moves around Earth. This is what causes our moon phases, as the moon orbits around Earth every 30 days. There are names for each of the phases of the moon's 30-day cycle. When the moon looks completely dark, we're experiencing a new moon. This is the beginning of the 30-day cycle. It will move through a waxing crescent phase until it is a first quarter moon. From here, we will see a waxing gibbous until the moon appears fully illuminated. You might have heard this phase before. This is what we call a full moon. After this phase, the moon will go from a waning gibbous phase into a third quarter moon. After the third quarter moon, it will become a waning crescent until it returns to a new moon. On the space station, we see the same moon phases as we do on the Earth's surface. Since the space station is only 250 miles closer to the moon than we are here on the ground, astronauts on the station have the same perspective you have, but don't have the Earth's atmosphere in their way for photographs. Astronauts currently on the space station actually use the moon's phases to collect research that will help NASA with the Artemis program as we work to go forward to the moon with our astronauts by 2024. So, the next time you're outside, take a glance up at the moon to check out what phase it's in. Are you interested in seeing the space station fly by as well? Ask an adult to help you sign up for Spot the Station at spotthestation.nasa.gov. Thanks for learning with me today. See you next time.
At NASA, we're working to return astronauts to the moon in just a few years, to explore it and to learn to live there long term. It's part of the plan to get humans ready to explore out into the solar system in the years after that. It's called the Artemis program. And this summer, teams here in Houston went into the giant swimming pool called the Neutral Buoyancy Laboratory to work on developing tools and training plans for the astronauts who will conduct the moonwalks of the future. Take a look.
Everyone in my generation wasn't alive the first time we went to the moon, and we want to do it again, and we want to do it better. The spacesuit, in general, is like a little mini spacecraft. It has almost every system represented because ultimately it's a life support system. This is going to keep someone alive in a very dangerous, critical environment. We love what we do. We really want to see this system fly and be useful and help a person explore the moon in a more capable manner than they were able to do during Apollo. So it's a great job.
The Commercial Crew Program, which developed the spaceship that delivered Doug Hurley to the station earlier this year, is one part of the growing commercial space economy, which the International Space Station has been encouraging for some 20 years now. The expansion of the commercial use of space not only fosters growth for these companies, it's also aiding NASA as it continues to explore and discover what's out there beyond low Earth orbit.
Those striving to develop their products and conduct research beyond Earth's atmosphere are seeing their visions come to life through the International Space Station National Lab and partnerships with NASA. NASA, in turn, is gaining new resources to aid in its mission of exploration and discovery. Thanks to these partnerships, the world is benefiting from the ingenuity of those who are taking their ideas to gravity's edge. From transportation to satellite deployment to in-space research, a vibrant commercial space economy has been developing, and its value now exceeds $345 billion. Mike Reed is the manager of the ISS Business and Economic Development Office at Johnson Space Center. He explains some of the benefits of NASA investing in the commercial economy in space. Commercialization of low Earth orbit frees up resources NASA needs to continue its exploration of space. Even as NASA prepares to return to the Moon, go to Mars, and continues engaging with other space missions, we'll always need a platform in low Earth orbit. That platform enables crew training, advanced systems development, and fundamental and applied research. But expanding use of the space station to commercial companies enables a new market. By having the commercial sector join us, we can continue our space exploration while providing access to a platform that helps create jobs, build revenues, and ultimately create many new products that are beneficial to people on Earth. In terms of research, many companies are making use of the ISS US National Laboratory to run their research and technology development investigations in microgravity. They include well-known corporations like Procter & Gamble, who have used the station to study colloids with a goal of improving the quality and lifespan of their products, such as shampoo and laundry fabric softener. Merck, the multinational pharmaceutical company, uses the National Lab to study the growth properties of three-dimensional protein crystals. Their work could lead to more effective delivery systems for cancer treatments. Even companies not as well known right now are seeing big dividends coming from their research. Lam Division, for example, is using the microgravity conditions on the station to advance the development for treating the effects of retinal degeneration, with the goal of restoring the vision of those people affected by it. In addition to research opportunities, the space station contributes to expanding the space economy in other ways. Reed explains, the capabilities of launch providers such as SpaceX and Northrop Grumman have grown dramatically over the last decade. The cost of placing cargo into orbit has dropped dramatically, which opens up the space marketplace to many more non-governmental entities who simply could not afford the costs of reaching space before. Now, SpaceX has brought astronauts to the station from American soil for the first time since 2011, and the first time ever on a privately owned launch system. The Commercial Crew Program provides a huge long-term benefit for both private companies and NASA. Today, thanks in part to the space station, commercial and other non-governmental entities are entering the space economy in significant numbers. What these new partnerships can accomplish together will drive the in-space marketplace and NASA's grandest missions to new heights, as well as improving quality of life for people on Earth. For more science and research from the International Space Station, go to www.nasa.gov/ISS-science. To discover more about the space on, around, and beyond our planet, visit science.nasa.gov.
If you want another look at any of the stories we featured today, you can always find them by heading to YouTube and Facebook. There are the particular addresses. And while you're there, feel free to check out the other cool stuff that's available about NASA and America's human spaceflight program. When you're interested in good conversation about human spaceflight and exploration, the place to go is Houston, We Have a Podcast. It's our weekly show where we talk to folks about their work in all aspects of space exploration. New episodes go up every Friday, and today Gary Jordan talks with Kate Rubins, the next American astronaut headed for the International Space Station, launching from the Baikonur Cosmodrome next week. Go to nasa.gov/podcasts for this week's episode. It's also where you'll find all our previous episodes. In fact, that's where you'll find the full library of all of the NASA podcasts, all of which you can also find on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and SoundCloud.